run the mint. An Englishman and a British Army officer named John Francis Campbell. Now, the British government sent John to be our first deputy master, CEO, big banana essentially. And John brought his whole entire family here to the new colony. But Mrs. Campbell was not pleased. Well, I think the reason why Mrs. Campbell was not pleased was because she was the wife of a British Army officer who was stationed in London at the time, you know, the capital of the British Empire. You know, one could argue that Mrs. Campbell had quite a lavish lifestyle, you know, almost jumping through the streets of London, having a gay old time, being invited to opening night to the Royal Opera House, and even having the opportunity to have afternoon tea with Queen Victoria once a year. Now, suddenly, she's on the other side of the world with her family. And if we just quickly listen to Perth, just a quick tune in. Do you think Perth is quiet? Imagine it back then, you know, without these cars, bus, trucks, concrete jungle. Wouldn't be a quiet place, young man? Very, very quiet place. You know, we could see all the way to the Swan River. A beautiful home, wouldn't you say? Beautiful home for the kids. Quiet, picturesque views. However, none of Mrs. Campbell's friends would come and visit her. None. Why? One simple answer. It's because of the lower class workers that were working here at the Perth Mint at that time. See, that back in those days, they were quite a hierarchical society, so her friends didn't like the idea of bumping into, essentially today's modern equivalent is me, or the people down at exhibitions. But John, Mrs. Campbell's, the husband, had a solution to the social dilemma. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m, John would shut down the mint and he would send all the workers over to the Grosvenor Hotel, just around the corner, still in operation today. Now at that time, Mrs. Campbell's friends would arrive at the front of the gatehouse. They would be welcomed by the mint's butler. And back in those days, folks, we used to have grass lawns that stretched from here all the way to the Hay Street. I don't know why we got rid of them, but anyway, beggars can't be choosers. So as you can imagine, when these people came, you know, it's an idyllic place to, you know, play croquet, dine on cucumber sandwiches. Essentially, the mint was theirs. Now at 5 p.m, the ladies would adjourn back into the city, while all the workers from the Grosvenor Hotel would come back to the Perth Mint and sign off their names on the pay ledger. Well, if anything looked remotely like their names or signatures, because they were paid for 3 hours of drinking, essentially. That's pretty much it. Now, unfortunately, well, for some people, this tradition stopped in 1925 when John Francis Campbell retired. But as you can imagine today, folks, we're a very different story. So as I was telling my lovely friends over here, we're a precious metals mint, so we process gold, silver, and sometimes platinum and palladium coins. We're a precious metals mint here, essentially. Now, our pocket change, that's done at the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra. And I just learned today, sorry this is if I'm repeating myself, but our cash, essentially paper notes, currency, that is done in Melbourne at the Federal Reserve Mint. Just found that out today, actually. It's beautiful. Yeah. The paper note, that's done at our airport facility. So that's where they do all the refining of the gold, and we essentially here get all the processed stuff. Right, it's all the clean stuff, all the pure stuff, really. Yeah, well, no. It generally comes in like sheets, like silver. So you'll see when you get inside, it all punches out coins and bits of kilos. 71, right? Now this was found in Malagal, Victoria. Still a part of the Golden Triangle in Victoria by John Deason in 1869. So quite an old find. And as I was saying to you before, this weighed 71.5 kilos. Now the poor thing with John Deason when he found this nugget, he didn't have scales big enough to weigh the nugget. So what he did was I hope they were good friends, but him and a couple of good friends, right, they strapped the nugget on a horse and cart and they travelled 10 kilometres. So quite a fair distance to a local blacksmith in my 16-year-old boy, Jimmy Larkham, right, who's prospecting in Coolgardie, 1931. Now this weighed 35.3 kilos. Now I don't go to the gym myself, well, I don't really know, I've got an excellent physique. But apparently when Jimmy Larkham found this on the surface, right, he grabbed it and quite foolishly showed everyone this nugget. But he's a 16-year-old boy lifting 35.3 kilos. The adrenaline for him to lift up such a thing. Now, lucky for him, the distance where he was and the shading, everyone thought it was a dead bird. And everyone's like, put that dead bird down. And he did, and he later showed his father, right? Jimmy Larkham Sr. So they took this, right, and they sold it for £6,000. Now, it might not seem like a lot of money, but you've got to remember, 1931, it's a very significant year. The Great Depression. And more importantly, we're still on the gold standard. So all gold was standardised. So £6,000 could buy you a pub, right? The Grosvenor. Well, that's actually what Jimmy Larkham and his father did. They bought the Excelsior Hotel in Boulder City and renamed it the Golden Eagle. Yep. Quite funny anyway.